Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It's hard to believe that we're already on episode 7 of the series, counting down my top 100 favorite games of all time. Thank you so much for all of the support we've received on the series so far. Here's a little reminder of what happened in the last episode, just in case you missed it. And with that, we're going to throw it over to Passkey for our rules update for the episode. No two games from the same series unless they are drastically different. Examples again, 2D Mario versus 3D Mario, and side games are allowed, but per side game series, I can only have one entry. So I can't have two Mario parties, but I could have a Mario Kart and a Mario Party. And that's going to just about wrap up everything we have to go over in the intro. I'm not going to waste any more of your time, let's get into the countdown.
Number 40, Clay Fighters 63 1/3. For those that don't know, the Clay Fighter series is a parody of the 1990s fighting game culture at the time. More specifically, Killer Instinct, I think it's supposed to most replicate. Which I think is a pretty apt description because it has a lot of the same elements that KI has without taking itself nearly as seriously. And I mean, this game is just straight up goofy. From its character designs to its playful music, even to some racial stereotypes, it's a very, very fun experience. But the gameplay itself is very lackluster due to the nature of stop motion animation that it utilizes. But where this game shines the most is in its cast, whether it's from Ichabod Clay to Bad Mr. Frosty all the way down to Dr. Kiln. From the top to the bottom of the roster, everybody is memorable and has memorable voice lines. It even has a guest character in the appearance of Earthworm Jim, if you can believe that. I primarily, however, stick to Bad Mr. Frosty because his moveset is very well rounded. He's kind of like the Mario of this game, like he's the mascot character and everything, but he's also the most well rounded in the entire cast to deal with anybody else. The most fun that I have making these videos is looking through the OSTs for these games, and I am so looking forward to looking through this one because it is full of just fun little jingles and jops, and I just can't wait to sink my teeth into that while doing this section in the editing portion. Hello, Future K. If you're gonna take anything away from this entry on this list, it is do not buy this game. It is not worth the money. It is not at all worth it. Even if it's just $15, it is not worth getting this game. Unless you are a fighting game diehard and you're looking for something to just change up the pace. But please do not take this game way too seriously. It is not meant for that. It's meant to just joke and josh around in. The only recommendation I could possibly give for this game is that you should play it on an emulator if you have one set up, but don't go waste money to play it on a 64. Number 39, Need for Speed Most Wanted. What is the first thing that you think about when you think about 2005's Need for Speed Most Wanted? For me, that is the Blacklist, as it is for so many other people. But what if I told you that there's so much more to this game than just that mode? Which really surprised me going back to it for this video, because I mainly just thought of it as that story mode career, and that was pretty much it. I completely forgot about the high intensity police chases, where they will go as far as to lay out wheel spikes for you in order just to get you to stop. Now combine all of that high-intensity arcade racing gameplay with the deep and immersive customization options that the garage offered. And I don't just mean the selection of licensed vehicles at hand for you, but the customization options. You could even go as far to customize your car just to avoid police picking up on you. There are some very good arcade racing games out there, but none of them, and I mean absolutely none of them, hold a candle to the depth that Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005 has. If you haven't given this game a shot yet, I don't know what's holding you up. Even if you're not a fan of this genre, you will find some enjoyability out of it. Number 38, Luigi's Mansion. In one of my old YouTube bios on a different channel, I listed my top 5 games before, and this used to be on it. However, during my recent playthrough, I realized a major flaw that this game had. And that is that this game is so incredibly short, it's not even funny. I believe it could be completed in just under 6 hours for a casual playthrough. Which inherently isn't a bad thing, until you remember that this was a launch title for the GameCube. So just think, some poor kid out there got this game thinking, oh, they're going to be playing all weekend, and then they beat the damn thing in like 10 hours, I would be so fucking pissed. And that's kind of how I felt when I was younger, because while it did take me over the course of maybe a whole weekend to beat the game, I was still like, that's it? And there's not really that much replay value to it. But despite that, I would still keep it exactly where it is on this list because it is such a good experience for the short time it is available. The soundtrack is top notch, and in my opinion, is some of Nintendo's best work. While the gameplay itself is a little bit repetitive, I'm willing to look past that because of all the cool designs of not only the ghost, but also the actual mansion itself. It killed the ambiance in the best way possible, but unfortunately it still holds a rather beefy price tag at around $50, and I don't want to tell anybody how to spend their money, but if you have something like a modded Wii or a K-Swiss GameCube, I would definitely load this one up. Number 37, Rock Band 4. After a short hiatus and no other games available on the PS4 and Xbox One in this kind of genre other than something like Taiko, I was jonesing like a crackhead to get my fix for rhythm games. But that meant I had to buy a whole new guitar, I had to get the whole set if I was going to dive into it on the Xbox One, since the controllers from the previous generations don't carry over into the new ones. So I sat by and I waited, hoping something would go on sale or I'd see it somewhere for a reasonable price. And then I found it in the clearance section of a GameStop with 2 guitar controllers and the Rivals expansion for $19.99. And it itched exactly what I needed it to. It did everything I could possibly want it to do and more. It had a decent song selection, not a great one, but the gameplay itself was crisp, fine-tuned, and calibrated exactly to what I needed it to be. And it most definitely did not leave a sour taste in my mouth like Guitar Hero Live did. I loved it so much at the peak of me playing Rock Band 4 that I spent a total of $730 on DLC for this game. I bought everything from full Megadeth albums to Lady Gaga song packs. I'm not going to recommend you go out and find this specific controller and a copy of this game because that's a little bit unreasonable, but what I will suggest to you is just get Clone Hero and a Wii guitar with an adapter. It does everything you need it to do and better. You can customize it however you want it, and it has an endless amount of songs, including the entire base roster of every Guitar Hero and every Rock Band. All you need to do is download them and set them up. Please play Clone Hero. Number 36, Super Princess Peach. I've played a lot of 2D platformers in my time, most of which have their own gimmicks, especially when it comes to ones with a touchscreen. Whether you're touching the screen to make a platform appear or to move an enemy, this does it a little differently though. You have 4 emotions to choose from, and what these emotions do is manipulate the environment and the enemies around you. Other than that, it's a pretty standard 2D platformer affair from Nintendo, but I do love that Princess Peach is the protagonist and not just the damsel in distress. I know that's a weird reason to like the game, but as someone who's always liked Princess Peach, I feel like this was just a really cool opportunity to let her shine in her own spotlight. This was a weird era for Nintendo because they were doing so well that they could just kind of throw shit at the wall and see what stuck. And I'm glad that this was one of the things they threw out there because it has always been in the back of my mind for like the past 15 years ever since I first played it. If you like that Yoshi's Island, Super Mario World style of 2D platformer, you're gonna blend those together here and that's what you're gonna get. So if that interests you, give it a go. If not, I completely understand. Number 35, Space Invaders. Space Invaders is an arcade series that had a lineage that goes all the way back to the early 80s, and I respect that. However, this franchise has reached its peak in 1999. This game is absolutely phenomenal. They did a great job modernizing the formula that Space Invaders laid out for us in the past to bring it to this newer audience. Between the boss fights, the updated audio, even the graphical enhancements that we had from just the previous Space Invader game a couple years ago was a major improvement, and I don't know why I have such an attachment to this singular title, but every single time I have like 10 minutes and I'm sitting at my 64, this is the game that I go and pick up. Number 34, Madden 06. Throughout the course of my life, I've spent a more than decent amount of time with every single Madden game that's ever released. but none of them have ever stuck to me the way Madden 06 has. The gameplay was fluid but arcadey, which was perfectly fine for that generation. It brought back the hit stick from Madden 05, along with introducing the QB Vision Cone, which had a very steep learning curve, but once you really got into the nitty-gritty of how to use it, it was perfect for high-level players who wanted a more challenging and immersive experience playing the game. But it wasn't just these slight gameplay tweaks and features that made the game stand out to me. You still had aspects like Create a Team along with the all-new Superstar mode, which at its time was revolutionary for the sports game market. I could only really recommend this game if you're a die-hard sports game fanatic, but if you're not and you're looking to play something older but a little more casually, I'd recommend playing something like Madden 12 on the 360. Number 33, VVV. I had to Google how to pronounce that name in case you were curious. I had no clue how to actually say it. I was gonna say V6, but I know that's incorrect. In all seriousness, this is a wonderful 2D platformer with a gravity switching mechanic, and it is by far one of the best indie games that I have ever played. Pair that with Soul Eye's excellent composition on the soundtrack, and you have an instant recipe for success. I will say though, this game gets damn hard towards the tail end of it, but if you're willing to persevere, this will be one of the greatest experiences you have ever played. Absolutely, period. Number 32, Hydro Thunder. I was fighting with myself whether I wanted to put Hydro Thunder or Hydro Thunder Hurricane on this list, but then I remembered it's not just the 64 port of Hydro Thunder that exists. The wonderful arcade port and the Dreamcast port carry the weight by an enormous portion. The 64 port is fine, but the Dreamcast port is almost arcade accurate, and the arcade original is an absolute classic in its genre. I absolutely love arcade racers, as you've seen by some of the other games on this list, but none of them really compare to Hydro Thunder because it's unique in its gameplay, being that it all takes place on the water, hence the name Hydro Thunder. If you have ever played this in an arcade, you will remember the distinct feeling of the rumble all the way through the seat and up your spine as you hit a major wave, and that is a feeling that I personally will never forget. But what I remember the most is the boost. It was so tactile to hit that boost because you could almost feel it when you're sitting at that machine. It was absolutely immersive, and I don't know how they did it with the graphics as primitive as they are, but it was a wonderful experience. While it didn't translate perfectly to the Nintendo 64, on the Dreamcast, it was able to recapture that emotion for me. The controls are very simplistic, but if you master them, you will always be the master of your own domain within these races. Coming in first is completely up to pure skill. You're not going to get cheated like you do in some arcade games. All you have to do is play a good race, and if you do that, you can win. It is not an easy game, but it is definitely manageable, and it is fun. While I can say all that, and I can sing the praises of this game all day long, the big thing that you need to think about with this is accessibility. If you have a Dreamcast, a 64, or even see it in an arcade, wonderful, go play. However, for convenience sake, just load up Xbox 360 Arcade. Even if you just have the disc, there's a demo on there, and I want you to try it. Sure, that's the Hurricane version, but it's still the same great gameplay experience. Number 31, Super Mario Sluggers. Wii Sports walked so Super Mario Sluggers could run. That's right, I said it, and I'm being absolutely genuine about that. This game controls like a souped up version of Wii Sports Baseball, which I absolutely love. However, I felt as if it was a little too simplistic. What this does is it adds a bunch more nuance and controls to both your batting and your pitching. While you can control outfielders, I usually just leave that to manual because I'm playing with a Wiimote and I'm not really trying to change the orientation of how I'm holding it mid-game. The gameplay itself is absolutely polished to a T. It is even better than the GameCube version in that regard, and if there was one thing I could possibly improve from it, is that it just needs a sequel. It is that damn good. The cast of characters is absolutely massive, however it is a little bit dated by today's standards because you're not getting a lot of the side characters that we see a lot of now, and you're seeing a lot of like Piantas and Nokis from Mario Sunshine. If you were handing me any Mario side game out there, I would probably choose a random Mario Party if I'm being honest. But if you're choosing a Mario sports game out there, I'm picking this without a single thought about it. And I feel like you should at least give it the same respect and give it a shot. Alright boys, and that's going to just about wrap up our recording for this episode, but before we get going, I'm just going to give a quick little recap. At number 40, we have Clay Fighter 63 1/3. 39, Need for Speed Most Wanted. 38, Luigi's Mansion. 37, Rock Band 4. 36, Super Princess Peach. 35, Space Invaders. 34, Madden 06. 33, VVV. 32, Hydro Thunder, and 31, Super Mario Sluggers. There is one thing I want to go over though before I let you guys loose from this episode, and that's just a quick reminder that we do still have the giveaway going on. All you have to do is comment below what your favorite game is and you're automatically entered. The prize is any game from the list of your choosing, and the way we will determine it is at the end of the series. We will be doing a Super Smash Bros. Melee tournament using CPU players, the winner of which will either comment or message me directly, and we will figure out which game you want, and we will make it publicly known on the channel before I send it out, and I'll even post a little video of me sending it actually out for you. But with that guys, I'm gonna let you go for the day. Thank you so much for your time, and I really hope you enjoyed the video. Bye bye.